Good afternoon, everyone. We hope you're as energized as we are because today is the final day of our conference. What a journey it has been over the past few days. We dwelled into thought provoking sessions, connected with brilliant minds that explored groundbreaking ideas, and today we promise to end on a high note. And while today marks the last day, it's not the end. The relationship and insight gained here will continue to flourish long after we leave. So, let's dive into the final day with the same enthusiasm we had on the first. So, without further ado, let's kick off today's proceedings. Up first, we have a session that promises to be both informative and inspiring. So, let me welcome Dr. Vishal Rao to talk on the topic possibility to actuality, bridging the gap between biological advances and technological advances. Please join us, sir.
बैक आना बैक आना कर ये छोटा कर ये छोटा कर हेमंत सर के लिए एक मिनट स्टॉप शेयर हो गया शायद नहीं एक मिनट या बड़ा कीजिए नहीं 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 सर न्यू शेयर स्क्रीन एंटायर शेयर बस और ये छोटा टॉक यस
Very good afternoon to all of you. Without much of delay, I'll start off on this topic. Again, Devraj sir and the entire Institute of Neurosciences at Krishna Vishwa, I thank you for inviting me. So when we initially discussed, it was a very vague topic. I just thought that I'll keep it a little more broader, open for residents, open for future use and recordings. Broadly, I'll quickly run this entire discussion on 3 points. How the post-World War C will be, post-COVID, and how we're going to learn some lessons in this. And I'm going to share some quick lessons of my learnings in this. And I personally think for us today to talk about innovations, talk about medicine, surgery, this is a very interesting era because a few grams of this particular virus stopped the world. And that's the most fascinating part about what happened from 2020 till now. Just a few grams of this virus stopped the world and opened up a World War C. And today, if you look at the entire world's approach towards science, health has changed completely after that day. So now imagine just from this area, and today, if you look at, I just recollect some words from Winston Churchill, who said, "It's a riddle wrapped in a mystery within an enigma, but perhaps there is a key." And till date, we don't have an answer on COVID. We still don't have a full answer on COVID. And imagine the beauty of this entire enigma that with so much of science, technology, we were not able to crack the Da Vinci Code on this entire thing. And yet we've come out of this pandemic, we've made some major progress. And there are a lot of lessons from this for medicine and health. And that's something that is deeply connected with innovation. I divide the life post-COVID into AD and BC. BC is before COVID and AD is after disease. Now, AD is going to be a game changer in my perspective because you actually opened up an whole entire box of possibilities. The question today, and I am saying if BC was about saying think out of the box, today the box itself is being redefined. There's absolutely a change in the way we are looking at the entire approach. And I just keep thinking about, look at the change from soldiers to doctors, weapons to souls and sanitizers, close encounters to social distancing, loss of sense of smell to loss of common sense. This is what differentiated the whole game. the entire war had shifted. And sir, being from a military background, understanding this, biodefense took everything, took precedence over every single weapon. They realized those big machines may not be required. Now, few grams of something could be more powerful than the big machines and missiles. So we are into a new era wherein health will have precedence, and I always believe, like defense, infra, health will take the same position. And I think we should command it. If we don't, we've missed out on a great opportunity. No, traditionally, bench to bedside takes about 17 years. Traditionally, this is how published literature across the world has shown that if you want to innovate something in healthcare, it takes 17 years, bench to bedside. World's best innovations have taken this time. So healthcare is not an easy game, takes a lot of time and commitment. But something happened after COVID, it became a hyperloop. Research and innovation got clubbed. It became almost like 17 days, 17 hours innovations. So we are talking about something very disruptive. We are talking about, if we do not use this era again, we are going to miss out on a very major opportunity in time. And that's why this part of history, and oftentimes when me and I discuss, I keep telling him, look, this is an important time in history, we can't let it go. We are going to be the people who are going to be making that shift, and that's why it's on our sole responsibilities of our shoulders who believe in this to catapult it. And that's how more and more of answers in this area have come. This is a very nice BCG report which talks about transforming beyond the crisis with head, heart, and hands. Do read this report. It's again for innovators, inventors to disrupt and break boundaries, to look at what you can actually do and what are the future of businesses. Now, Boston Consulting Group coming up with a report like this itself is very thought provoking, saying that how will businesses be in the future, and talk about a patient centric transformation in post COVID. So I'm here to tell you that this is going to be driven by what we call as an O era of conscious capitalism, wealth creation with value creation, and ambition with purpose. It's going to have a different dimension of an entire soul to it, so to say. So we run this program called Design Health Thinking, and where we talk about looking at the problem, getting rid of the solution, and taking it from possibility to actuality. And that's what me and I have been talking for so many months or years now, to actually discuss on possibility to actuality. And I see him as a good possibilitarian example of what he's done in terms of possibility to actuality. And I think there's a lot that we could do. And so I'm just going to quickly summarize some lessons that I learned during this journey, because I feel our responsibility is not just with what we can do with what is at hand, but also to dimly look into the future. So I dedicated one slide for you, which I want to show you, which was this. So I said we look at possibility to actuality, and this is one thing dedicated to you, that you are a possibilitarian, somebody who takes possibility to actuality. Now, I think there are so many of us here who are taking this journey from possibility to actuality and trying to make it happen, and it needs a possibilitarian. So I was sharing that our responsibility lies with not what we can immediately do at hand, but primarily also look at a distance. And I'm going to share three lessons. One of the key things that I often say in innovations where we go wrong is, this is a very classic example of an IT gentleman who took an AI software, came up with a marketing algorithm. He was sitting in Dubai with his friends in a pub drinking, and came up with his AI solution to disrupt the language barrier. He wanted to have every Arab have a cola in his hand. So he came up with this AI solution and said, let's go pictorial wise. Man dying, dead tired in the desert, drinks a cola, starts to run. Simple cut to chase. In a month, you'll have every Arab having a cola in the hand. A month later, he met him again in the pub, and this man looked a little disturbed and distraught. So he asked him what happened. He said, I lost my job. He said, what happened? He says, that was a brilliant plan. I thought it was very thought provoking. He said, yes, but I forgot to calculate that the Arabs read from right to left. So the calculation went wrong there. Now, a lot of the times this happens in innovation for us, that we actually have a brilliant idea, but we don't know how to read the entire thing, because we are relying on some other external software or something. Sometimes purely looking at understanding it from an engineering point of view. I had somebody who had devised a biopsy needle without understanding that the biopsy needle won't even go through that way, but had raised the first round of funding. So this is the ecosystem where we need to connect and define a problem correctly. And I often say, look, when Newton saw the apple, he saw the laws of gravity. When Steve Jobs saw it, he saw my Mac computer, which is not compatible with most systems. And most seminars are scared of it. So again, something which me and I have often discussed, that a question appears, when an answer appears when a question is ready and complete. So How clear is your question is the answer, rather than saying that the answer is not ready or your solutions are not ready. I just saw in the morning some of the solutions he's shown. I think his question is very clear. And the answers have appeared very simply in that and not complicated way. So I'll just quickly run through some of the slides, not but I just wanted to give a broad thought-provoking idea. There's someone student who asked me this question in a medical college and said, how do I get a brilliant idea? And I said, hold on to one patient's problem all your life and you'll be flooded with ideas. When you have one patient, you have a soul to it, and that can be having masses and then it goes to markets. But problem today with industries, they're going to markets and then reversing it and saying, let's then take it to masses and then let a soul be touched with it. I think that's the reverse side of it, which has not worked today. And we need to rethink of this post-COVID. So this is one of the problems that I found was relevant to me. And I thought speech and communication is a right to a human quality. And so the current problem for me was I had two devices in the world, one Europe, one US, both costing 45,000, replaced every 6 months. And I said, is there any way by which I can make it more equitable? My philosophy was, can we make the patients talk? I'm going to skip the video. This was a video dedicated by BBC to us. I'm just going to. This was a video gift. Can you increase the volume? I'll just play it for a few seconds. यहाँ पे कनेक्ट कर दिया मैंने. Eighty percent of the patients come to an advanced stage where it's difficult to control the voice box. 80% here comes in the OD area and 4-5. Insurance are healthcare is private and cost prohibitive. That was the reason that I tried to get there was a dire need to actually help these patients speak because speech is a right and not a right. Is connected to the food pipe and the air supply from the lungs. Something that BBC gifted us. So now I have about 3,000 patients plus who are speaking with this device who haven't spoken for like 10 years, 14 years, who are now speaking again. And my little contribution to this world was when I created this and I launched it, and I thought that I should be able to disrupt the ecosystem. Now there are three processes in the world, one from US, one from Europe, another from India. So I worked with some toy makers to actually make some insertion devices because I realized my engineers were getting confused with the whole thing. But this toy maker who works on toys and science works on it. And he actually came on History Channel and he became a disruptor because many people started asking him for solutions after this. He worked in a village in a hole in the wall. So I'm going to skip this, but this is a video which History Channel had made on him, actually talking about disruptions for like when a toy maker and oncologist can come together, what can you make? And the whole idea came from simple principles. So today we have 144 countries that need these voice processes. Now, United Nations has told me that through the disability, because I went and I made a small amendment to the Act of India, the Rights for Persons with Disabilities Act of India 2016. I included this voice processes issue. That made it into a business, into a real actual solution where he not only loses, when he loses his job, when he loses his voice, he loses his job. Now he gets his job and his voice back again. So I'm just saying beyond awards recognitions, but I'm saying that disruption did happen, and we were able to recently it was displayed in Davos among the 4 healthcare disruptions from India. Now I've just touched the soul of a person who wants to think, to say that look, for me when I was started doing it, everybody told me it's impossible, it's a waste of time to. My team went to Davos. I was not interested in going to Davos, but I just felt that looking at that entire thing and the dream come true, I realized that this is feasible, something which is practical. So I often say this, and I'm just sharing this to tell you all. See, the beauty of the lessons we learn in life is that the exam comes first and then we learn the lesson. That's why I put it this way, that the exam is first and the lesson is later. So here we are not constrained by the discipline of rigor, but by the limit of our purpose to make a difference, which is defined by our imagination. And I'm thankful that I'm here today talking to a place where I actually feel and breathe imagination. So this is very, very crucial, sir. Thank you for showing me that entire OT lounge and OT store, the OT, the operation theating rooms and the technologies is a part of that imagination, which is beyond rigor. I think it's just beyond the rigor part of it. It's just to do that, we have to define our imaginations there. So I think I'll just give another example. World Intellectual Property Organization sometime back had put me as the personality of the month. So, this lady was interviewing me, asked me a question. She said, how has your journey been as an entrepreneur? I told her, as complex as the word entrepreneur, so is the journey. I still don't get the spelling right and I don't know what an entrepreneur is. I'm just inventing randomly. I'm just casually inventing because I think there is certain needs at certain place and I'm inventing for that. Now, if you look at India and you look at where we stand, this is what I wanted to show you all. Imagine the gross domestic expenditure on R&D. We are right now at that point, and look at where US is, China is, and other countries are. Now, my point is, if you want to move this bubble, you have to make it bigger and you have to move it forward. And that is where will that solution come? It will come from this room. It will not come from somewhere else, not from government of India or somewhere else. I keep saying that if this institute's bubble is increasing, that bubble will increase. And every institute I go to, I tell them increase the bubble size. You need to look at how do you going to, like, after this entire thing, my institution started funding research and started actually looking at funding research and innovation with quarterly budgets allocated to it. It's a publicly listed company, but structured with budgets for innovations, which they mandated to say that this much budget has to be spent for it. So we need to, I think, in an institution, inculcate this thought process of understanding when do you do research, when do you do an invention, when do you do an innovation, and when do you do a jugaad. And look at who individual student or a consultant's aptitude is to understand which particular area do you belong to. So I give this very classic example of a very beautiful article from the British Medical Journal, which talked about the use of parachute to prevent death and major trauma when jumping from an aircraft, an RCT. And the conclusion was very, very astounding. It said that parachute use did not reduce death or major trauma injury when jumping from an aircraft in the first randomized evaluation of this intervention. However, the trial was able to enroll participants from a small stationary aircraft on ground. And this for me is thought provoking, correct? You do not need a randomized control trial everywhere. You do not need an RCT everywhere. You just, every time you're searching for a randomized control trial for evidence, sometimes the obvious does not need evidence. So we need to somewhere slowly move out of this entire game and start moving away from this game of evidence and saying, we are fooling around, just wasting money. There are obvious things, we need to just solve it. So we've actually pushed for this particular thing as Make in India 2.0, called Create in India, through the International Federation of Inventors Association. And I've invited Ayap, and I invite all of you all to come. We'll be setting up the entire deck, and I've invited him to have one station for your institute over there to talk about disruptive innovations. So we've done this with the PMO's office, where we've actually built this ecosystem to actually fast track innovations. From a USB to a rocket missile, there are ecosystems there which are available now, and we are trying to build a health house that's going to actually have some global innovations with the International Federation of Inventors and opening it up to many other ecosystems. So I'll just quickly run through, as I'm running out of time, on precision oncosurgery. I just wanted to tell this because I thought I'm coming to a hub of surgery, and I thought this is the time when I actually experienced this slide, because I've been watching, we've been talking about it, but I think what you all are practicing already is precision oncosurgery or precision surgeries. But as a positioning, we've not done it. I think it's time for this institute also to position precision oncosurgery. This is a benchmark of precision oncosurgery.